Yo, what's up folks, TCG here, and today we're having a look at Green-White Elesh Nornian. Name's a bit silly. Green-White Elesh Norn with Yorion. Let's take a look. And so the aim of this deck is to take advantage of Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, from Phyrexia. Is a 5-mana 4/7 with Vigilance. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. And then permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanent your opponent control to trigger. And what we're trying to do here is to use the acceleration that green has to put an Elesh Norn into play as fast as possible, and then have a bunch of nice ends of the battlefield effects to take advantage of that ability, while also shutting down a bunch of our opponent's stuff. So let's get into it. We are playing it in a Yorion shell, so we have access to Yorion to recur all these ends of the battlefield abilities later on in the game. It's a big card advantage engine, and we also do have a copy in Yorion in the main deck. But hey, let's take a look at what we're working with. So firstly, we've got the 8 mana elves that green gives you access to. Again, we're trying to ideally play an Elesh Norn on turn 3 if we can, depending on how much interaction our opponent has. So the fastest things we have are the 8 elves. Then at 2 we have Prosperous Innkeeper, which gets a treasure. Later on in the game it also gains you a bunch of life. And again with Elesh Norn you're making multiple treasures, gaining multiple life, etc. Stabilize you versus aggro, all that kind of stuff. And then we also have Tangle Florahedron here, which doubles as also a land you can play in tough spots as well, where you don't have the elves for turn 1. Often you'll say, okay, I've got 2 of these effects, I'll play the Tangle Florahedron as a land, etc. And then also just later on in the game, just having more land drops can be really, really useful. We then have a bunch of pretty handy 2-drop effects. Spirited Companion, obviously 2 mana 1/1 ETB, draw a card. ETB, draw 2 cards with Elesh Norn. Nice. Nice way to kind of like get through our deck. We have 4 copies of Charming Prince, which is kind of a bit of a Swiss Army knife. If you are looking for specific answers, you can scry 2. If you need to gain life versus aggro, you can gain life. And obviously, that exile another target creature you own, return it to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the end step is really the juice we're looking for here to recur some of our more powerful things later on in the game once we've got the Elesh Norn in play. We also have a couple of one-offs. The first one is Loyal Warhound, acting as a kind of Knight of the White Orchid effect. 1 and a white for a 3/1 dog with Vigilance. ETB, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. We're not playing a ton of these effects. We don't want to have to play infinite plains. We have 3. And occasionally, very, very occasionally, you will play the Warhound and not be able to get a plains. But generally that would be later on in the game anyway, and it wouldn't make a big difference. You've already got a bunch of lands in play if you've got the 3 plains out. And the other thing is Malera, which is another addition from Phyrexia. Green-white for 3/3, it's got a Watchwolf body as a legendary human scout, but if you would get 1 or more poison counters, instead you get 1 and can't gain additional poison counters this turn, fair enough, but really, exile Malera the Living Cure, choose another target creature or artifact, when it's put into a graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield under its control. Kind of that Safi Eric Starter style effect, while also being able to block really well and potentially put beat down on versus more mid-range control opponents. But yeah, once you've got Elesh, you play the Malera, and then your more expensive things up the curve here, the Sarah Paragon, the Elesh Norn get to stick around as you can use Malera to protect them. A nice little addition, and a nice little one-over. The end have some more card advantage at 3 with Welcoming Vampire, 3 mana for a 2/3 with Flying, some evasion as well. Whenever 1 or more creatures with the power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. We've got a bunch of things that trigger this. It is once per turn, but hey, yeah. Awesome. And then we have a bunch of Skyclave Apparitions. Skyclave Apparition and Knight of Autumn kind of go hand in hand as interaction for opponent's permanents. The Skyclave Apparition is any non-land permanent with CMC 4 or less. Exiles it, and then when the Skyclave leaves the battlefield, they get a illusion. Knight of the Autumn versus artifacts and enchantments, you can just blow them up. And obviously you're looking to recur these or use them multiple times with Elesh Norn later on. But you have the flexibility there to gain life or get counters to beat down with as well, which is super, super handy. At 4, we've got another kind of huge card advantage engine. And so we have Yorion for card advantage. We have Elesh Norn obviously being able to give us a bunch of extra triggers on what we play once we've got it in play. And then Sarah Paragon being able to recur cards with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with convert mana cost. So mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. And if you do, it gains what it's put into the graveyard for the battlefield exile and gains 2 life instead. But yeah, just being able to recur all this earlier stuff, being able to recur the Knight of Autumns, the Skyclave Apparitions, or just these things to draw cards to get extra value. Sarah Paragon is great. And then also, yeah, attacks in the air, which is nice. Then 4 copies of Esca's Chariot, just a good card, but Really, really strong with Elesh Norn obviously making 4 cats instead of that normal 2, but good enough by itself anyway to kind of warrant some other things. It's pretty great. And then of course we're running 4 copies of Elesh Norn, kind of our the deck, the card the deck is built around. When it's in play, you're doing like the deck is good when it's not in play, but with Elesh Norn in play, everything becomes more powerful. It's what we're aiming for, and the really thing that's I think a bit understated is that it turns so much of your opponent's stuff off. I think I don't know if it's that obvious that so many different effects have entered the battlefield triggers, and it probably is, right? But yeah, you get to shut down a ton of your opponent's stuff, which is great. And then 1 Yorion in the main deck. Obviously, card's great anyway, but having the extra one that we can just pull is nice. But having one in here to just curve out and then recur some of the things that we played earlier to get our interaction back or make more tokens or whatever. And then topping off the curve, I want like one big powerful thing to do, and so we've got a couple of copies of Titan of Industry. Just kind of the best on rate creature maybe in the format when you're getting with like creativity and things. 7 mana 7/7. It is expensive, but you've got quite a lot of ramp effects. Reach and trample, and then ETB choose 2, either destroy target artifact or enchantment. And we've got a ton of hate for artifacts and enchantments in the stack. Target player gains 5 life, create a 4/4 warrior, or put a shield counter on a creature you control. Note the shield counter doesn't have to be on Titan. You can like protect the Sarah Paragon, you can protect the Elesh Norn. It is very, very nice and creates a ton of power to then finish your opponents off with. And then once you've done this, you can start flickering it or going to town, which is really awesome. The mana base is reasonably straightforward. 4 of most of the green-white duels. Only 3 blush lands, to be fair. I wanted to include a few more planes. We have 4 Branch Call Pathway, and their utility lands. We've got 2 Lair of the Hydra, a Beseiji, and a Django. 2 copies of Cave the Frost Dragon. Kind of going a 2-2 split on the mana lands. Being able to attack in the air is nice, but being able to, once you've got a load of mana, just attack with a huge lair is also good. And then a Cassan Arden Veil to make tokens if you kind of get into like a portal situation later on in the game. There's a few basics, there's a forest, there's a few planes to just so that ratio is so you can get one with Loyal Warhound fairly consistently. And yeah, that's the main deck. Very, very solid. We're going to take this into some ranked games. I'll just go into the sideboard very quickly. So obviously the Yorion, we've got 4 copies of Portable Hole for matchups like aggro where you want to have an interaction. We've got a couple of extraction specialists versus mid-range and control. We're going to sweep you or try and pick off some of your early creatures. It's good enough that you could consider playing some of the main deck, but there's a solid core of creatures here. I didn't want to really take away from that. 3 copies of Rest in Peace, this is Graveyard Hate. And then alongside that, to mix things up a bit, we've got 2 copies of License Us as well. Obviously, we do have some of our own graveyard effects, and so sometimes you would rather have Hearse than Rest in Peace. Obviously, versus some decks, Rest in Peace is the actual shutout, and so is just more powerful. You can kind of adjust accordingly here. And because you're 80 cards, having more of these effects to draw into is nice. And then lastly, another one of my most played sideboard cards is Vivian's Monsters Advocate. It just gives you a nice little time at win con. It's just an army in a can, so you can make it early because you're playing all these mana accelerants. And yeah, just like, okay, cool. We're going to sideboard into this Planeswalker, and it's just going to make a bunch of creatures by itself while we build up card advantage, which is really, really nice. Awesome. We're going to hop into some ranked games. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Explore content, yada yada. Love it. And we just got the news that Shadows of Renaissance Remastered is coming out in like 3 weeks' time, which is nuts. And I need to get brewing, honestly. But yeah, let's hop into the ranked games. Catch you in a moment. Alright, here we go. Match number 1. We'll see how many matches we get played into the video, because the deck can grind pretty well, which means that they can go on for quite a while. We are playing best of 3, of course. This looks fairly solid. Like, we'd like to have a couple more lands potentially. Like, we'll probably end up playing one of these 4 Adhesions as a land. Work out how we want to sequence this all out. Will, I guess, depend on whether our Mystic hits the bin. Opponent decided to keep 6. They started with Forest. Kind of have to assume at this point that this is mono green, but it could still be anything. It's not going to change how we play out our first few turns either way, really. Yeah. We have a decent number of lands, so maybe we do end up with Florahedron. So if we get Florahedron here on turn 2, then we're looking to turn 3 Elesh Norn. And by the looks of things, I'm not expecting to have them to have much interaction for that. Yeah. So play Florahedron out and just pass. Could have potentially played this Florahedron, but given we have another land already for the Elesh Norn, I'm kind of thinking towards, okay, if we draw into something like a vampire, we'll want to like use this to draw cards anyway, so until we need to play it as a land, we'll keep it as a creature. At this point, because we've already got that 5 mana. Alright, looks to be mono-green aggro here with the Werewolf Pack Leader and the Scavengers. We do have a Chariot, but we're going to make the Elesh Norn and then try and follow it up with a Chariot. That seems fairly solid. And so this first couple of tests, we have to kind of think about what our opponent could have when if they make the attack here, like obviously they get to draw off the Pack Leader, what potential things could they have to go through our Elesh Norn? Okay, they're going to opt not to play anything. So, and they're representing company here, which is important to remember. We're not going to make any loose attacks. I think our best bet is to just make Chariot. It is tempting to just run the Companion out, draw a couple of cards, see what we hit. We could hit a land. We're not like doing a ton with a Knight of Autumn at the moment. If we had like a nice 2-3 play to make. Like making the Chariot now, just guaranteeing we have it. We'll play the Florahedron as land number 4. We'll pass it over. And then next turn we can either draw some cards, maybe Yorion some things. It kind of just depends on what they company into here. This is what they were telegraphing. Fair enough. They've got 1 card left in hand after this. Could be another company. Okay, the Love Stroke Beast is interesting because it means so at the minute they've only got 1 1 power creature. We don't have a good way of removing that with us right now. One of the things we could make some considerations for to play here is something like Ossification. It would be a solid shout out. It does make our mana considerably worse because we need to account for those basics, especially when we're playing 80 cards. So if we're playing like mono white, definitely Ossification's great, but I don't know how many basics to play. Okay. I'll create up the Chariot here, just so we have it around. They have an answer for the Elesh Norn, which is rough. Fair enough. We've already got our tokens off of it. We're in a reasonable spot already. We might change how we play out the rest of everything. They can eat it with the Elesh. They can eat it with the Scavengers. We don't have a great way to get this back anyway. But hey, we'll see. They can go to combat. They're not going to do anything until my turn. We have another Chariot. I'm going to lead off with the Spirited Companion here. They're off one because like, we don't have great attacks and they don't have great attacks. Ooh, this is a really good draw. We haven't got anything to play with it yet. We want to... So it gets worse and worse with the... Gets worse and worse as they're going to have more mana out for the Scavenging use. So because we've drawn the second Chariot, we're going to crew up here, attack with it, make a new token, and then play a new one. We know they can block, but that's okay. Trying to use our mana. I'm gonna double block. That's fine. We'll play a new Chariot. What we probably want to look to do next turn is maybe add Yorion to hand. Alright, they're going to eat the Elesh Norn. That's fine. At the moment, at least, not that many creatures to grow the Scavenging use. And yeah, we have a small army of cats now. Even though we still don't really have the resources to break through these defenses, we can definitely build a bit. Alright, Mammoth. There's one thing about like that you have to worry about versus the red-green deck that you don't have to worry about against like the mono-green kind of aggro deck is that you don't have to worry about Embercleave, which means kinda fine. Okay. If we have the Yorion from hand, I'm just trying to work out if we want to do anything else with it. I'd rather use the one we have in hand now. Make more tokens, draw an extra card. We don't want to make a weird attack before we do that. And again, like we kind of want to hold on to this. The thing about Yorion is that it prevents the threat in the air, which they don't have an answer to. We've got the ground pretty gummed up here. I'm just gonna run this out. We're gonna run this out. Or take a damage and tap the Elvish Mystic. See what goes on. So we want the Chariot, the Spirit Companion, and also the Mystic here. Well, that's all fine. No attacks. And the end step, we're going to make even more cats and draw a card. Now I'm playing this a bit more. This is like a huge board store. Normally we're like, okay, cool. Against decks like this, you get to keep the Elesh Norn in play and you can finish it off quite quickly just because you're getting so many more free resources. But this is a position where something like Nissa would be pretty powerful. Kind of interesting to think about. Do you have that overrun effect? Okay. Yep, all good. Yeah, currently no answers for our flyers, though we're not really doing a ton. Do a quick check here. We'll come across the Yorion, then we'll look to make the Sarah Paragon. If they didn't have like a mana up, we could maybe try some cheeky attack with a Spirit Companion or something like that. But I don't think it's worth it. I'm gonna play this as a land. And then I think about this Night of the Worm. I'm just gonna play the Llanowar Elf so we have more mana. We'll hold on to the Knight. Maybe not sure if we don't need to, because it might affect Tally sideboard. They have some spicy enchantments or effects to bring in. At the minute they have 1, 2, 6 like high. Well, 6 block is bigger than our cats. And chip them down a bit with the flyers, then look to finish them off with the array of cats. You also maybe like go Yorion attack, making a Yorion here. They're in a pretty rough spot. If they draw something like, okay, they're gonna make some attacks here. Interesting. Let's draw them a card. We're kind of incentivized to make the relevant blocks. I'm gonna put 3 here, and I'll do the same here. I'm trying to think. Primal Might is not a. Okay. The werewolf becomes like a 5/3. We should be all fine. Then you get to kind of trade it in for a card. So we do lose some cats. And a great henge off the back of that. Okay. That's a huge card advantage engine for them, but we have the Night of Autumn. So we'll be able to put a stop to it fairly quickly. That's the hope anyway. Okay. Interesting. Alright, we got a double Knight. So let's start off with attacking with the flyers. They do still have green mana open with this Llanowar Elf, so we can't get too custom with it. Okay. Go across with 7 in the air. And then we can look to, so if we play, I think we go Knight, blow up the henge. And then we'll add Yorion to play next turn. So the henge gives them like a source of life and also lets them draw to a bunch of things. I just don't want them to draw out of what we're... Oh well, yeah, I just don't want to draw out. I'll pop the Great Henge, we'll add Yorion, and then we can say go. We still have 6 cats, just a decent number. They can gain some life out of the skews, we did trade into their creatures last time. Fair enough. The mammoth's getting bigger. I'm kind of curious if they try and go for an half strike this time or not. We obviously have to. That gives us some decisions to make because you know matters for blockers. But yeah, we'll see if they come across with everything. Just the big stuff. Okay. Well, I don't think we've got any way to make a ace blocker. Sorry, against this wee land drop. Do you want to do anything about the 5/5? I think taking 5 here seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, I'm just gonna block like this. They do eat some cats by doing this, which stops us making that like what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're still dying to the flies, but it's more coming down in chunks. Alright. Into our turn. Okay. So let's go to combat with the flies again. Again, they have a few, like they're putting creatures in the graveyard for scavenging use as well. It's something we need to be a little wary of. So then what? We're at 1, 2, take some life to do it. I'm gonna gain some life here. Then we're gonna Yorion, and then we'll flicker them and turn them into 4/4s. Right, so I'll blink Spirit Companion. I'll blink these two. The Aska's Chariot, and I'll blink this. Is that all good? I may as well blink the Sarah Paragon. Yeah, okay. Close sets. What do we draw? Ah, we draw new Elesh Norn. Okay, nice. And then they have the end of turn company. Fair play. The thing we're looking to dodge here really is Ronus if they have a copy of it. The green god that gives creatures trample. That one. Yeah, this one here. You can't give itself trample, but another creature gets +2/+0 and trample turn to turn. You have quite a lot of power of blockers though, so I'm not, you know, you want to give it adequate respect, but not too much. They've only got mana for a couple of activations too. So I think we're okay. Quite a lot of creatures to answer. We're on 12. There you go. Attack all. Well, the block on the Ronus is free. We can put like a 1/1 on that because it can't give itself trample. And then we have to work out how we're blocking the rest of these. But the basic idea is to put the new big bodies in front of the creatures and then keep the flies around to finish the game that way. They're also not attacking quite everything. Alright, let's try it. I'm gonna crew the chariot with the Yorion. So we'll do that. I'm gonna move to blocks. So this itself can go here. Yeah. It should be something we don't want to get. We don't mind getting eaten by like scavenging use. Then we have these 3 other creatures. The chariot's going to go here. I'll put one of these here. me assign some blockers. I have to give quite a bit of trample. Put an extra one of these here, extra one of these here. Put the other two cats on the scavenging. And a creature left to exile. One. A block like this. They lose some stuff with this attack as well, is the thing. They get to pick some things they want to kill, and they're going to come over. They're going to do a little bit of damage to us. That's the idea, anyway. Yeah, so Scavenging Ooze gets trample. That's expected. You have 7 toughness blocking that, so that's going to be a full trade. I think they get to keep one of these other things. They'll pump the. Ooh, that one's already got trample, but hey, it's gonna. It trades away the chariot. Fair enough, I think. We should be able to play something off the Sarah Paragon, which is nice at least. The Scavenging Ooze not being in play is a factor that I've not really considered. Alright. Let's deal with Elesh Norn. We have 3/7 in the air. We don't have lethal attack yet. We can certainly gain some life and stuff. Let's do that. I'm just gonna gain 4 life a couple of times here. Get us healthy. I'll send these into the red. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have quite enough attackers. Yeah, we were a point off, basically. That point was probably this Cave of the Frost Dragon, actually. We live and learn. Yeah. Fairly should have been fine activating this as long as I didn't have a Beseiji. Alright. Company into. Okay, well. 1 Arbiter 6. Not gonna do the thing. Alright, cool. That was game 1. That took 20 minutes. This might be a 1-match video, I'll be honest. Versus Green, it's kind of interesting because they're playing an aggro build. We do actually want these portable holes because they also, still take the mana guys. They are a bit worse than they would normally be. Other than that, I don't know if I actually want anything. Maybe the extraction specialists. We're not really trading either. The rest of the piece is also kind of interesting because they have a bunch of things that they have die effects like on the trolls, but we're not really looking to like kill them. In that way, we want to be like apparitioning them, so the rest of the pieces don't get as much value, I don't think, there. What do we not like? So the Titans are interesting because they're really expensive, but once you having one to actually kind of like draw towards and then be able to stabilize the board is pretty good. There's some kind of more anti-control cards like the Knight of Autumn. While they do pop, the Great Henge don't have loads of utility. I think what else? Like you don't necessarily need to. Oh, the Sarah Paragons actually get pretty bad, because they have like a bunch of main deck scavenging users. They're gonna keep those in because they didn't see those. I think that makes the most sense in terms of how we're swapping. Maybe we don't need the Yorion. I'm less convinced of that. All these things are just pretty solid together. Let's run this up. The only other thing I'm considering is like Welcoming Vampire. Going down to 1 Welcoming Vampire and then bringing in leaving the Titan in. Which I think is fairly reasonable, to be honest. Especially on the draw, this is going to get us run over. Whereas having the Titan once we've kind of made some mana and stuff is going to be huge. Yeah, I'm going to leave in 1 copy of Sarah Paragon. I'm going to cut the 2 Welcoming Vampires. They're not always going to have a Scavenging Ooze. So you may as well leave a little bit of flavour in there. Alright. Sorry, when I go to mute my mic to cough, it cuts sound out because I'm doing it in OBS. This looks slow, but reasonable. Never turn one elf. Razorbow ticket. We will play the lair first, just in case we draw a second ticket. Well, I guess it doesn't matter the first turn, but okay. This needs you to have two or less lands. This needs you to have 3 lands. I'll do that. We will play to our kind of main line. Try to make the turn 3 Elesh Norn again. They've kept a 1-land hand with multiple mana elves, which means they're unlikely to hit like a. Oh no, okay, they hit a land, so they do now have access to company. I'm curious how if they kept because they had like Llanowar Elf land, and then a bunch of 3s, or they were like, we need 1 land to company, and they kept a hand like that. Either way, it's a little bit risky, but hey. Doesn't look like a company yet, so you definitely just jam it here. Okay. Lustrous Beast. No blockers, but yeah. Alright, Farmland and Elesh Norn, and then we try and dodge the fight spell. And if they have it, they kind of have it. We'll have to kind of pick up the pieces with a bunch of awkward looking 1/1s. We're going to get some Nykthos action, it looks like. Okay. 4. Oh. Henge is good. Henge also lets you activate Nykthos at 5. Pretty big brain. Oh well, you know. How they drew it up. No counter, no draw a card. Guess what? Elesh Norn turns that off. Okay, I'm gonna go white land, and I think that we should lead with a companion to draw a couple of cards. Try and make the most of Elesh Norn before they get to get rid of it. I want to draw ideally towards a chariot here. Oh, that's actually huge. Okay. This makes 2 treasures. And we'll look to make the Elvish Mystic later on. Get the treasure around for extra mana. Absolutely no attacks. So we need to think about things like, do we want to trade like Knight plus Spirited Companion for Lustrous Beast, because we're going to have Yorion in not too long. We have a lot of engine cards in play at this point. By which I mean Elesh Norn. Like, the Process King is going to gain us a bunch of life. And that's fine. But we have some decent effects to blink with Yorion too. Alright. They've dumped a lot onto the board though, that's the thing. They currently are kind of like, they could... they're not going to make Lustrous Beast... Ooh, I did not think they were going to make Lustrous Beast attacks. I make these blocks. Is that reasonable? And then what does that leave them with? What does that leave us with? He's just with Sarah Paragon, which is solid. Plus Spirited Companion. Other stuff, they can't kill Elesh Norn, right? I think getting the Lustrous Beast out of the way is actually just good. It might be the last card in their hand of Scavenging Use. Yeah, I'm gonna make the blocks. We have to keep our pile of mana too. They're giving away a lot to make that attack. Alright, we'll lead off with the Spirit Companion. Okay, backup Elesh Norn is decent. We'll get the rest of the mana into play. I cast this because it draws us towards a land. And let's play the other 2 elves. We did give away some board presents, to be fair. farmland. Terra Paragon does block reasonably. I'd rather the mana, right? I think so. It's not going to force us to have any great blocks with these. It's just like they're gonna get a reasonable attack with Werewolf Pack Leader and Ogre's Troll. If they don't use their mana. So we have to be a little careful about throwing Elesh Norn away. We do have a backup now, so even then that's, you know, still reasonable for us. Alright, they did have a backup for Gatehenge. That is okay. I was thinking about that as well. It's like the attack they made really incentivized spinning this off, so maybe they... Yeah, we've got the Terra Paragon. They've not made any attacks here. Which is fair enough, because from their end they don't know. But we're gonna... Okay, I tapped like all my white lands. Thank you, Watsy. They know we're gonna get this back and do other things. Alright, cool. That's 27 minutes. We'll try and get up for another game then. And just hit these together. Alright. See you in ranked game number 2. Alright. Looks like we found one. Hey. We had a pretty long game 1 there, but a fairly short game 2 to kind of make up for that. Versus Mono Green Aggro. So, hey. Probably just this match is the last one. We'll see what we're up against. We do get to be on the play, like that. No turn 1 elf, but we have some other acceleration on the play. Like, keep that. We've got Chariot too. No Elesh Norn as of yet, which is obviously what we want to see, but that's fine. The nature of things... I'm going to take a turn off to play one of these as a land. Because if they're playing a deck with... If they're playing a deck with removal, then we're going to want to play 4 actual lands. This looks to be Mono Blue Spirits though, which could also be quite awkward, potentially. End Step Spirit, untap, enchantment plus counterspell is kind of their god draw, their nut draw. Curious Obsession, it looks like we do have one. And we're going to try really hard to have them not have a counterspell for Esker's Chariot. And if they do, right, if they don't, fine. If they do, then hey, it is what it is. Slowing down our development to play around something we can't play around is not good. If we play like Spirit of Companion, they just let it resolve. Same with Prosperous Innkeeper. You have to count the spells that matter. And yep, they do have the Gaslight Snare. Kind of funny. It does feel like Gaslighting. Yeah. We'll take some more damage, they'll draw some more counter magic, and we are on the ropes already. We'll see, we'll see. We have the Skyflame Apparition, which is some interaction. We'll test the waters of the Prosperous Innkeeper, which nets us some mana itself. We're not playing anything else here. We're going to try a Skyflame Apparition, and then kind of basically try and run them out of counter spells. This limits what they can have a little bit. And there's a Lofty Denial, they could have like a Rattle Change or something like that. At least they're not deploying more spirits to the board. Rattle Change is kind of the worst possible there. Just because it means they're also like putting another 2 on fire into play. As it is, like, only Spectral Sailors to deal with, so we are slowly dying. Stasis Haven might also make a bit of an impact. We'll probably try something similar next turn when we try and go Spirited Companion to Sky Apparition. But hey, there's no real way for us to like pay the 4 here. We need 7 mana, which we're close to, kind of. Like if we have an untapped land, then maybe we just run the Sky Apparition out as a tapped land. So we will do this. Just tap the brush land. That's my bad. Can't play the game. I have responsibility for that. Yeah, I should have just manually tapped the brush land so I didn't use the pain land. There's another guy slice there. We'll play the Razorback ticket. It's just a case of what other creatures they have here. This matchup gets a little bit better post ball because we've got like 10. We've got Portable Hole. But hey, the Innkeeper does do a decent job of like slowing down the bleeding if it's just these Spectral Sailors. But if they start making Lords, this starts. Yeah, so Supreme Phantom, and this starts to add up real quick. We're effectively on a 2-turn clock because I'm gonna have another kind of Spirit in hand. Potentially even another Lord. Up us down to 8. They've currently got 6 in play with flying. Okay. I'll leave with a Night of Autumn. Because that pops a Curious Obsession, so it should prompt a counterspell. With the idea to basically make a Sarah Paragon off the back of that. What a Klein. Of course, if they have a Geist like Snare here, then we're in trouble. Alright, all of a sudden we're kind of in business. No attacks. As a case of like, do they have like a Brazen Borrower? Do they have, I can't remember what the 1-mana removal spell is. Ooh, that does tap it down. Okay. But the Sarah Paragon also gives us resources in our graveyard. Oh. Ah, we're just dead. Never mind. I take it all back. Oh, we're all kinds of just very dead. Alright, they get to tap the Terra Paragon with the Shackle Guys. They power these up, these will attack us for 9 in there. Tough times. So, we want these Portable Holes. What is too clunky? The Malira doesn't really do anything because they're not interacting with our creatures and like to kill them at all. Similarly, the lower Warhand, we're normally going to be behind on land, especially on the play. So we're going to be ahead on land, especially on the play. They're also a fairly low land count deck. The opening Vampires have evasion, which is good. These they can block. The Paragons, like these cards are just powerful. Do we cut the Titan of Industry? They're really expensive. They're hard to resolve, but they are kind of lockouts. This might be the match where we want to like trim an Elesh Norn. But I don't want to do that because it's kind of the card we're trying to showcase at the same time. I think we make the game correct play. We're going to trim an Elesh Norn, and then also we'll trim a... Because Chariot actually kills them, which is important. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Like, Yorion can block, but... Yeah. If we can get in a bit under them, then we should be fine. Yeah, we've got the Paragon, but... our hand is still very limited by what our opponent's doing. Start off with Temple Garden tapped. The downside is just not having the Elvish Mystics. Or Llanowar Elf. Alright, fortunately Mousley and Wanderer hits pretty much nothing in our deck. We'll make it Tangled. But now they're gonna get to kind of untap and have access to the Wombo combo. Okay. Titan's interesting. I kind of just want to go Innkeeper Spirit Companion here. That's all I would like to do. They can have some kind of counterspell interaction. But hey, we're going to use this. Like, if we can resolve a Titan, we win the game. Is of how much can we test our opponent before then? Django, decent. Non-spell interaction for attackers. Oh well. No, yeah. Just begin that ability. Okay. There is a Curious Obsession. I'm going to start to take the beat down in the air. Currently, they've only... They might just have not played a third land yet. They might be looking for one. They still might have a guy slice there. We'll play the brush land here. We can't afford to pay the 3 anyway. We'll try this. And this should force some movement. Okay, so there's a guy slice there. Fair enough. I kind of want to save the prince. We can play it, but it just puts a tutor on to play it. It doesn't like develop our board anymore. And that. Whereas next time we can just threaten. We got 5, 6, 7. Okay. They're 4 cards. Getting the Charming Priest into play does do some stuff. We're exiling the Innkeeper to remake the treasure token, so that we still do have enough mana. Maybe that's a little suspect, but not sure. We have other options next turn instead of just jamming the Titan, though. Down to 13. They have another land. Double Obsession. They don't have a land. They might not have a second Guy Slice land, so it kind of leads me to want to go. Just jam Titan, but I don't think that we should do that. I think we want to try and play around with the Gango. 3, 4. It feels like we should just do it, but I don't feel confident about it. So with these, maybe they do something. Maybe there's some other interaction. Jam Titan. So if we leave up a Django, we can add Yorion, leave up a Django. A Django deals with one of the Spectral Sailors. We're still going to take some damage from the other one. Might prompt some interaction on their turn with like a Rattle Chains. Again, if we resolve the Titan, we're fairly clear. Alright, this turn is so likely to have a counter spell, I think we should just do this. And obviously if they don't have one, then we look silly, but there's just no way. Just no way. Rattle Chain's coming down now, and means that maybe we don't have a second. That does give a less Spirit Splash as well. So, hey, get a bit tricky. We're going to take a bunch of damage here. The Rattle Chain, the Mausoleum Wanderer here also like kind of rewards them for playing stuff in their main base. They might like Rattle Chains here. They have already played their 4th land. We'll see. Trying to think if we have enough time life-wise. The Rattle Chains allowing them to like flash in lords and stuff like that is pretty dangerous. They have 5 cards in hand. Oh. We're at 8. They currently have 5. We get to maybe do some stuff. They know we have Yorion coming. Yeah, I'm not going to jam the Titan. Like this, we do have to play. We get at least another creature in here. That way, we do potentially just not just die to the whatever they play here. If they're a lord, we're dead. So I'm just gonna attack with everything. The lord being a 1/3, so which can come in and block potentially. All right, go ahead. So currently we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh. Spirit's kind of big. Okay, double spirit. Well, those are currently both on the ground. They can make them into flyers. But that's not lethal. Baseless Haven. Oh, it is lethal. Yeah, it's 9. Header. My bad. 9. We had nothing we could really do to play around this. That's a fortunate one. If we had like an Elvish Mystic start, we could get some stuff into play a little faster. Like off that hand there, even though Royal Play was just basically that one turn too slow. They just got to get counter spells online. But that is kind of the idea of the Spirit stack. Just there. Bit of a tough matchup because we're trying to do all our payoffs are quite big, expensive cards. That's what the deck's designed to punish. All right, well, hey, you saw a win, you saw a loss, some different matchups there. Hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the video, please do subscribe to the channel. So again, if you've got decks that you want to see in Explorer or in other arena formats, do let me know in the comments. And other than that, have a great day. Peace soup. Take care.